Hey everyone, it's Jayla, and today I feel like I look extremely rough. And that's because emotionally it has been really rough. It's been a hard couple of days, honestly. I have spent probably the last 6 days just refreshing my Twitter feed, not really taking a break, and just absorbing a lot of terrifying and disheartening news. If you don't know what I'm talking about the killing of George Floyd by police and all the things that have been happening because of that. I fully support the protests, but the police reaction to protest has been really hard for me, as I'm sure it's been for many other Black Americans and just anyone else who has human decency. So honestly, I am mentally very drained and emotionally very drained, and I had to cover up mascara earlier because I forgot I had it on and started crying, and it was very messy. And I don't even want to talk about it much longer just because I tend to get choked up. I'm not very good at expressing my feelings, so I can already hear it in my voice right now. But I did want to just make this video about Black literature and the things that I really have learned from Black authors. And I hope that these, I don't really want to call them recommendations, but like just sharing this information will either inspire you to pick up something or pick up these books specifically, but like I'm not really recommending them, I'm just talking about them, if that makes sense. Whether it be about the world or Black culture or just reaffirming things that I already knew about the world, these books have left a lasting impression on me, and so I want to talk about them. I'm going to start off with a very popular one. Everyone knows this book, everyone knows this person, and that is Becoming by Michelle Obama. I talked about this in my April wrap-up, and I was talking about how it was just very comforting, and reading it was like a hug. This book has taught me, well, it taught me what it was like to be a Black First Lady, because that was unprecedented, and no one's ever had that experience before, so she was the first person to kind of tell that story. It taught me a lot about speaking up for yourself and remembering who you are despite what everyone else is trying to say about you. From a historical standpoint, this book taught me about growing up in the 70s and 80s in Southside Chicago. It talked about the white flight and all these racist things that kind of shaped and molded who Michelle Obama became. And it talked about how she stood up for herself, acted for her community, and just, became who she wanted to become despite the external forces trying to keep her down. So this book was very inspirational in all those regards and many, many more, but these were just a few of the things that really stood out to me. Another one would be If Beale Street Could Talk by James Baldwin. I love this book for its simplicity, not necessarily because the writing is simple or the plot is really all that simple, but more so it's a story of Black love and trying to persevere despite those external forces that try and keep you down. These characters are just real and raw, and you're rooting for them despite all of these things that are trying to keep them apart. And I don't know if this book necessarily taught me anything new, but it's one of those books that reaffirms experiences that you already knew existed in the world, and even puts them in a different historical context, since I wasn't alive in I actually can't remember when this took place, but I'm gonna say 60s, 60s or early 70s, but I'm pretty sure 60s. On the lighter side, which thank God, because I can feel the tears coming, I have The Sun Is Also a Star by Niccol. This book, it's just a cute little love story. I mean, it's not just a cute little love story, that's what makes it so impactful. It has a cute love story, but it's also about a girl who's trying to stop her family from being deported. It's so much bigger. The main character and her family are Jamaican, and it's able to show me so many different things about Jamaican culture. And that was another thing I really appreciated, that this was actually a learning experience, because the author takes the time to pause in the middle of the story and give context to things. There's chapters in here dedicated to things like the origin of the word Irie, which is a Jamaican word that I've heard a lot, but mostly when people come back from their vacations in Jamaica. There was a chapter on hair from both a Korean perspective and a Black perspective, which was extremely interesting to me because hair is very important to me. But it talked about how the Korean American character, who's also a main character in this book, his family owns a Black hair care store. And it's a very common discussion in my family about why Asian people own all these Black hair care stores, and especially when it becomes a problem of not trusting their Black customers. It explains how Koreans didn't just become Black hair care owners by chance. It explains how way back in the 1960s they became top competitors in the wig market in South Korea, and how that has trickled down to what we have today. And then in the African American history version of it, it talks more about what hair means to Black women, and how hair has changed meanings over time. How people treat it and how people think about it has been changed dramatically over the years, whether that be through a sense of empowerment or through moments where they were told that it shouldn't be a certain way. So again, these are just instances of giving context to things that I've personally never bothered to look up or really thought about that hard, and I really appreciate those aspects of this story. The last one I have to show you is going to probably be completely washed out by the camera. Oh, and that is Citizen by Claudia Rankine. This is a poetry collection, and I'm not sure if poetry is everyone's jam, but I This one is a recommendation, so yeah, sorry. But I urge everyone to read this book. It is amazing. I had to read this for class, so I probably would never have picked it up on my own, I'm going to be honest. But I had to read it for African American literature, and this book is beautiful. From the creative way that she executes her poetry to the message she's trying to convey, all of it is amazing. I just want to show you some things that like you see in here. So it's not just poetry, by the way. I believe some of it is essays. But they wrote an essay on Serena Williams and how she was treated because of her physical body and her skin, being a tennis player in a predominantly white sport. And it shows how things like, ooh, can you see it? Can you see it? She wrote an essay about how things like this display, which was making fun of Serena Williams, these things are just excused because she's seen as like an invader in a sense. In another example, she just lists out, ooh, you can't see this at all. In another example, she'll just list out scenarios of microaggressions, things that are tiny little incidents in your life, but as you keep reading, they just keep adding up, and that's how microaggressions work. At first, it's these little things, they're like little pinches, little flicks, whatever, but you keep getting them over your lifetime and they start to take a real toll on you. And that's kind of the journey she takes you through with this book. It's just like you get through all of these microaggressions and all of these other things, and it's like no wonder you're angry because you have to go through this every day. So again, my only real recommendation, but you should really read all of them if you want to, but I urge people to pick up this book because it is so important. The way she executes it is brilliant. I am so proud of myself for managing to get through this without crying. Here are all the books that I recommend. Thank you for watching. For all my Black viewers, you know I support you. For all my allies, thank you. Make sure you guys are donating. Make sure you're signing petitions. If you can go out and protest, please do so. Of course, wear a face mask, wear protective gear, because it really is a fight for your life at this point. Thank you for watching, and please leave me some recommendations for other books that you feel have impacted you by Black authors that you've learned something from. I would love to read more of them. That is all from me. Black Lives Matter. Have a great night.